Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings, 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second monthly press conference of the Citizens Alliance. Before we commence our proceedings this morning, can we please have prayers? We can do prayers silently in our individual ways, please. May God answer all our prayers and direct the proceedings. Amen. Good morning and welcome once again. We're here on our second monthly press conference. As promised the last time, we're going to be engaging with the press, with the nation, with Gambians on a monthly basis to talk about issues that are really important to our country, to our people. Currently, we know there have been several happenings. And as a party, as the party, as Citizens Alliance, a government in waiting, it is important that we come and discuss these issues, make our positions clear, talk to the people, enlighten them, educate them, highlight the issues, and also put on the table solutions on how to tackle these issues. We're a government in waiting. There is a current government. There is a role of government, and there is a role that citizens need to play, as well as political parties. We are a party that's not here to compete. We're a party that's not here to criticize, but we're a party that is here to hold ourselves to account, hold the current government to account, because we are the futuristic party. We are not an opposition. We are the alternative. As such, we have highlighted some issues that we feel are important that we need to discuss and get the Gambians informed. One of them is the issue of the postponement of the voter registration, where in 2021, elections are fast approaching in December. These are key things that will inform everything that will happen in December 2021. So thus, I think it is very, very important that we discuss the issue as a party. Also, the appointment of the deputy IEC chairman, which was later rescinded, but still it's important that we talk to the populace, we talk to the Gambians on how we felt about that appointment as well. We will also discuss the current drug bust at the Gambia ports. It's a concern. It is a big issue that as a party, we should really talk to the people about it. We will also talk about the directive that was issued by the IGP on tinted glasses. It is a big concern. As citizens, we felt, because a lot of people have really commented on that issue, and as a party also, we feel our supporters are affected, Gambians are affected, the populace is affected. We should really discuss such an important issue. We will talk about the alarming increase of road accidents, and that will boil down to driving license issuance as well. Because again, it's end of year. Everybody is going to be renewing their driving license. It is an issue that we will want to also discuss. And we will discuss the high maternal mortality as well. It is an ongoing issue, an ongoing concern. It is important that we keep talking about it, not once, not twice, until we see to it that the issue is addressed. If not completely eradicated, but at least reduced to a number that we are comfortable with. Without further ado, I would invite the party leader, presidential candidate, flag bearer of the Citizens Alliance, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, to delve on these issues and tell you the party's positions, our take, and the way forward. Thank you very much, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay.
Thank you thank you, Madam Spokeswoman, for that very good and comprehensive introduction. Good morning, members of the press present here today, and even those who are not present here today, but covering this event from afar. Good morning, Gambia. Every Gambian, friends of the Gambia, residents of the Gambia, good morning. Gambians living in the Gambia and Gambians living in the diaspora, we extend our warmest greetings to you. We wish everybody a happy new year. It's 2021. We pray and hope that 2021 will be a good year for the Gambia and her citizens, better than 2020. I also like to acknowledge the presence of a few executive members from the National Executive Council of the Citizens Alliance. I have on my right Mr. Dominic Mendy, the National President of the Citizens Alliance. Obviously, I don't have to introduce our spokeswoman. She's been very active, very innovative as well, doing a fantastic job for the party. I've seen recently that she made a tour of the different media houses just to build that rapport, that relationship between Citizens Alliance and the press, to demystify our party, to show that we are open as a party and that we are willing to talk to the press. When we talk to the press, we don't talk to you. If you are not a journalist, I wouldn't talk to you, but because you are a journalist and you have a role to play, what you do is you disseminate information to the general public. So when we talk to you, we are talking to the general public. If we had the power, we would visit every city, every town, every village, every bantaba in this country to talk to the citizens. But because we cannot do that, the best way to do it now and the most effective and efficient way is to talk to you. And now you can later on, through your TVs, through your radios, through your platform, disseminate this information to the general public. So our desire to talk to the public, to be transparent to the public as a political party is what makes us having this to organize this press conference, Monday, talk to you so we can share information. We have our disability president, Mr. Yusufa Haidara, who's sitting on the left. And finally, we have Mr. Rafi Diab, the party's national mobilizer. Like Nene said, since the last press conference, we had promised the Gambian people, through you, that we'll be organizing a monthly press conference where we'll discuss pertinent national issues and state our position on some issues, but on some issues, we prefer solutions. The country is grappling with complex problems. Some are perennial. Some problems have existed since independence. But some are new problems. But that is what happens to countries. They grapple with problems, they solve it, problems come, they solve it. These problems can be political, could be social, could be economic. And I think our role as a party is to find solutions to these political problems, to these social problems, and to these economic problems. Like Nene rightly said, we don't see ourselves as the opposition. We see ourselves as the alternative party. What alternative solutions and policy solutions do we have for the country? That is why we're organizing this press conference today. The first issue has to do with the postponement of voter registration. We all know that voter registration is a very important national project. According to the Gambian law, it happens every 10 years. The last voter registration was in 2011. We are supposed to have one this year. But this one is not any ordinary voter registration. It is to register Gambians, some who are already in the voter roll, but more so new voters as well. Since 2011, Gambia's population has increased exponentially. And because of the baby boom in the 90s, we have a lot of young people now who are eligible to vote in the 2021 elections. In addition to that, the next elections is going to be a very high-stakes election within a very fragile and unpredictable context. So therefore, it was important that we get the voter registration right, because if we don't get it right, it can undermine the integrity of the elections, which would not be a very good thing for the Gambia. So therefore, we take the postponement very seriously. If you could recall, when we received a letter from the IEC that it was postponed indefinitely due to logistical challenges, we came out to challenge the IEC on two things. That they should tell us what these logistical challenges are, because we believe that we as principal stakeholders in this whole entire process should know any challenge that the IEC is facing with regards to the elections. Two, we say it is not enough for you to tell us indefinitely. We need a clear and realistic timetable to replace the previous one. We commend the IEC, obviously, for coming out to shed light as to why the postponement took place. We'll discuss that. But they fall short of telling us the next realistic registration date. I will also discuss that. So also in our communication when we got the letter was that we are also going to do our own investigations to know exactly what transpired and why it was postponed. And the findings that we have, based on our investigations, are that the IEC wanted to single source the procurement process, the procurement for the materials needed for the elections. The IEC, as usual, 2011 and 2016, they did single sourcing to one company. And in 2021, they also want to do the same single sourcing, but the Ministry of Finance said no, it has to go through a tender process so we can give chance to other companies who have the capacity and the capability to also provide these materials, so that's a fair process. And then a bidding process started, tender process. 4 companies tendered their bids. One is ESI, a Canadian company. The second is Damalog from Germany. We have Ekemp from China. All these are international companies. And we have one Gambian-owned company called Smart Business Group, the Gambia. However, the first issue with regards to this whole scenario was that the IEC did not want or would not allow a joint venture. What does that mean? It means that a Gambian company who lacks the reference and the capacity to provide these materials would want to partner with a foreign company who has the experience and the capacity and the reference. But the IEC says no, no joint venture. It is either you come full and provide or you don't. So it means technically Gambian companies were removed from the entire process. However, one Gambian company, Smart Group, nonetheless, because they had already bought the documents, they tendered their bid. Now, the second thing was that the company the IEC wanted to give the contractor, which is ESI. Based on our findings, we need some clarifications from the IEC and also from GPPA. Because, I mean, these things should be clear. We understand, we are not saying that is the case, but we understand that ESI was not the most qualified company. In fact, they are not the most financially responsive of all the companies that bidded. Third, that this same ESI was the same company that supplied IEC election materials in 2011 and 16 under a different company name called Code. And they went bankrupt, and they changed their name to ESI. That should be very clear. They supplied the materials for elections in 2011 and 16, single source, their name was Code, went bankrupt, and now they are called ESI. Now, based on our findings also, IEC had a very bad experience with this company called Code. So the question is, why would we want to deal with the same company? Now, the fourth also is that we want to also know what materials is the IEC going to procure. Because if the IEC bought materials for 2011 and 16, there should be materials available for 20, except if those materials will have poor quality and we're going to discard them. But we need to know also there should be clarity as to what materials are we going to get. Because if they supplied materials in 2016, we should be able to use those materials as well. Now, those are the issues that we want to know. Now, what we've learned also is that because of this agreement between the procurement agency and IEC, now they are going to go for a second tender. They are going to remove the clause which says that joint ventures are not accepted. Now they are going to accept it. It means now Gambian businesses can partner with other businesses to do it. So there will be a new tender. The 4 that tendered before are going to be the same ones now. So I think we are waiting now for the outcome of that entire process and see which company will really win the tender. But what is important for us as a party and also as citizens is that elections are no jokes. They are life and death issues. They are about democracy. They are about security and peace and stability. Therefore, we must get it right. And our position is very clear that we urge the IEC to make sure that whatever they do it right and they look at the greater interest of the nation and make sure that the company that wins it has the capacity, is going to be objective, and is going to be engaged in any activity that will resemble voter fraud. So that is our position on that issue. So we are waiting to see which company is going to win the bid. And also we urge the IEC to come up with a new timetable as soon as possible. So we know this state of unpredictability hampers our work as political parties because we have to plan ahead. We need to know when is voter registration so we can plan. We have a lot of activities to do. But if you don't know when voter registration is, which itself is a lot of work to get the citizens to register to vote. Because we want we want every Gambian who is eligible to vote to register to vote. That's what we want. That is our aim. That every Gambian who is eligible to register to vote must register to vote. We don't want to disenfranchise any Gambian, both in the Gambia and in the diaspora. So therefore, it is important that as soon as possible, this issue is sorted, and then we have a new timetable and voter registration starts. Another issue that we have with voter registration is the window that is provided. Initially, the IEC said the window was from the 14th of January to the 26th of February, which is 6 weeks. We think it is too small a window for a very important exercise like this. We are going to register almost over 1 million people within 6 weeks. Knowing how our country is in terms of infrastructure, in terms of connectivity, and in terms of getting access to documents you need to register to vote. Getting an ID card can take ages. Many Gambians cannot even afford ID cards, especially the young people. And we like to wait until last minute. So you wait until registration starts, you can look for an ID card before you get a registration window has closed, you cannot register to vote. The system really disenfranchises you, and we don't think that should happen in this country. The second one is a passport. How many Gambians can afford a passport, especially those who know they will never travel? Birth certificate, we've all lost our birth certificates. Alcalo's attestation, and this thing can be politicized. You can go to an Alcalo and say, no, you are from a different political party than the party I support, and not give it to you. So these things must be very clear. We don't want to disenfranchise any Gambian. And when we disenfranchise, and when the system does that, it can cause problems for us. So we want the IEC to take note of these things. The second issue that we want to discuss is the recent drugs busted at the Gambia Ports Authority. Inside a container, obviously. The container was, in the lading, was supposed to carry industrial salt from, I think, from Brazil, from South America somewhere. However, the amount of drugs confiscated was 2.93 tons, that's kilograms, almost close to 3 tons. We say 2, but it's close to 3 tons of cocaine. I think it's the biggest in the history of this country. First of all, we like to commend the law enforcement agencies. We like to commend Interpol, plus DLIC, our own law enforcement agencies, for the collaboration in making sure that this this activity is busted. One thing that we should note is that the Gambia now has become an access, storage, and transit point for drugs like cocaine. Not only Gambia, it's a West African problem. Senegal is facing the same problems, Guinea-Bissau, Mali. We're all facing the same problems. But for the Gambia, as small as it is, for us to be having this amount of drugs in our country is a serious cause for concern and has serious implications, for one, for the security of this country. Having tons of cocaine stored in the Gambia, waiting to be transited to its final destination, can attract criminal gangs into this country. It is also not good for the country because what it does is it wanes investor confidence. A country known to be a drug hub, serious investors want to go to those countries because those countries are unstable. Those countries are always unstable. The other thing also has to do with security. Like I said, and finally, our citizens are not safe because these drugs, like I tell you, are not to be consumed. Gambians cannot consume 3 tons of cocaine. We don't have the market in the country. So Gambia has now become a storage point because they cannot grow it here, but now it is going to be stored here. Now when it is stored here, it means it has to go somewhere. Who takes it there? They are going to rely on our young people who need money. Especially those in the diaspora who have the European passports and can travel, they'll use them to transport these drugs, and our young innocent people who are here frustrated with no job. So it is a very serious problem that we must take very seriously. And we, on our part, we urge the government to strongly empower the law enforcement agencies, especially the DLIC. They must be empowered because why? They need the necessary equipment and the technology to be able to trace, track, arrest, and prosecute these people who are involved in this kind of activities. Especially training. See, this drug world is very dynamic. We need to train our law enforcement agencies. how to work within a very sophisticated intelligence world to be able to track and trace and arrest this criminal. So we need to invest in law enforcement in this country because of this. That's what countries do. Whenever you have a problem in one particular sector, you invest to solve that problem. We need to invest in law enforcement. We need to invest in law enforcement to ensure that our law enforcement agents have the right materials and the right equipment to do their work, right training to do their work, but also are independent. Let government not interfere with their work. Let them independently do their investigations and do their work. Now, on a final note on this issue, because this is a transnational organized crime. It's a transnational organized crime. What does that mean? It means that transnational collaboration is needed to deal with this situation. What does that mean? We urge the government to support our law enforcement to promote more interagency collaboration, especially within the West African sub-region, in terms of intelligence sharing and information sharing. I know there is a software that they are developing now. It's called WAPIS, West African Police Information System. They are developing it. It makes it easier for West African intelligence agencies to collaborate and share information real time. It's under development, it's not done yet. I think the Gambia should ensure we should be part of this WAPIS because it makes the work of our law enforcement agencies very easy. Our position is very clear. We urge strongly the government to really investigate this drugs issue and make sure the perpetrators are brought to justice and set a very good example. Because if we don't set good examples and let people go scot-free, that causes impunity. The transnational criminal gangs, we know now Gambia has weak institutions. They are weak security institutions. It becomes a very easy target. That is what they are looking for. They are looking for countries with weak institutions. Look at the countries they target: Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Gambia. They know. They don't go to countries with strong institutions, with strong security infrastructure. They don't. They know this country is vulnerable. It's easy to buy your way in and out. These are the countries they target. In the process, they destroy our countries. The third issue that we also want to discuss is the directive from the IGP about the tinted glasses. When I read the press release, I thought this is ridiculous. The IGP obviously, or the public, that effective tomorrow, all vehicles with tints must renew their clearance permits. That they have reviewed the issuance of tinted glass clearance for vehicles, and because of that, vehicle owners must renew. And let me quote from the release, that review process came following a thorough and strict consideration of national security interests. Just listen to these words and underline them. They did a review because of national security interest. To cite but a few instances, they have registered cases in which tinted vehicles were used to traffic drugs, one, and other contrabands across the country. In other instances, individuals use it as a cover-up to evade security inspections and non-compliance with relevant vehicle tax settlements. In addition to a host of issues, they sometimes pose a challenge in the investigation of hit-and-run accident cases. This is what the IGP released. That in view of the above and other security-related issues, the IGP's office hereby notifies the public that effective tomorrow, 15 January 2021, all vehicles with tints must renew their clearance permits. But this renewal has a cost. What is that cost? That factory tinted vehicles, what does that mean? Vehicles that are tinted from production, from the manufacturer, you have to pay $10,000 to GRA. Now, non-factory, where you go to Kerr Avenue and you tell these guys to fix you your tint, that one you pay $15,000. The height of this whole folly is when they say senior government officials, diplomats, and others, who are those others we don't know, will be allowed gratis. You don't pay. So diplomat, government official, tint, dark, the darkest tint, 100% free. Commercial vehicles banned from tint. Now, my question is, if really national security is the issue here, why say pay $10,000? Criminals can afford $10,000. I mean, if I'm a criminal and I do my dealings in my car and have a tinted glass and government says now $10,000, I can easily afford that. So for me, national security is not the reason then if it has a cost of $10,000. So that doesn't make sense to us. Now, one thing that the IGP or the police should know and the general public is that most modern vehicles have a slight tint to their windows. These come, especially those vehicles made 2015 and later. They have tints. So why should I buy my car and be punished for that? That is the question that we should ask. Why should citizens be punished for buying a car from the factory and are made to pay $10,000? That's a lot of money for an average Gambian. It's a lot of money. But why do these vehicles have tints? They don't just put tint because it makes the car beautiful. No, there are reasons. One of the reasons is that it reduces the amount of infrared, visible light, and ultraviolet radiation that passes through windows of a vehicle. That is why they put it there. It is for the health and comfort of the driver and the passengers, because it reduces the sun rays that come in, especially dangerous ultraviolet sun rays. It can also create a better driving environment because what it protects the passengers and the driver from the glare of the sun and lowers regular glass. It also makes your car temperature cooler, especially in hot countries like Gambia. These are advantages, because these advantages make the driving experience better. However, we also understand that tinted glass use must be regulated. We are not saying it must not be regulated. It must be regulated. But it must be done in a way that makes sense. I'm not telling us that people smuggle drugs in cars, people smuggle contraband, so because of that, you pay $10,000 to smuggle it. That is, in fact, that's what they're telling us. You can smuggle, continue smuggling, but just pay $10,000, you can continue smuggling. That is what they're telling us. Now, it is important that we regulate it. Why? Because it reduces, tinted glass reduces visibility, especially heavy tint. It reduces visibility for the driver. It can cause accidents, especially at night. It's like wearing a very dark glasses and you are driving at night. We're a country that has barely lights everywhere, street lights. You tint all your car, you are driving at night, it causes accidents. So therefore, we think it must be regulated because it's about road safety as well. Secondly, law enforcement agents must be also able to see inside the interior of a vehicle. And heavy tint can impede that process. So what needs to be done? We need to strike a balance between driver experience and comfort and security. We are not saying that they should allow tint indiscriminately, but there must be guidelines. Best practices are available all over the world. If you go to other countries, that is what they do. In terms of visible light transmission levels. Light tint. You see, tint is measured based on visible light, based on some countries. Some countries say, well, there must be 70% VLT. That is 70% visible light transmission, meaning that 70% of the sun must be able to, light must be able to enter the vehicle. Only 30% is tinted. Some countries say no, 50. Some countries say no, 30. So each country has their own guidelines that they give to motorists. For example, in India, total tint is banned. You cannot do total tint. However, if it comes from a manufacturer, it can be 30% tinted. So 70% is VLT, meaning vision light transmission. Light can enter 70% in the front and the rear windows, and 50% tinted on the side windows. In Tunisia, tints are allowed, but should not be so heavily tinted that it is not possible to see inside the car. So Gambia should come with their own guidelines based on these technicalities, and not just to say IGP directive next week, if you have a tint, $10,000. In fact, we want to know the legal basis of these directives, because otherwise, if they impound a citizen's car, you can take the IGP to court to say, what is the legal basis of your directives? Where the $10,000 is from? I know it's the Motor Traffic Act of Section 25C is one that governs it. But where did they get the money? Why 10,000 and not 5,000? What is the legal basis of this? So we need to know these things and it needs to be clear. What we are urging the the police is that they are doing a fantastic job to get our community secure and safe. However, these random directives are not what moves a country. There must be clear guidelines that takes into consideration driver comfort and experience, but at the same time security. So what we are telling them is that the directive is counterproductive, because if security is the sole reason why you want to regulate tinted glass, then ban it. But don't say pay 10,000 and use it. That doesn't make sense. It's counterproductive. So we want them to revisit this directive and come up with clear guidelines as to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. The fourth position has to do with the increase in road traffic accidents. Even though there is very little empirical evidence to give us exactly what is happening, because data collection in this country is not very good. But anecdotal evidence tells us that every day you drive your car from turntable to traffic light, you'll see an accident. On the Kiang Road, you'll see an accident. On the Gunju Road, you'll see an accident. These are social problems that must be solved. We cannot just say accident happened now, the people have died or injured. No. We need to know exactly what causes these accidents. There must be empirical evidence to guide government policy. Citizen safety is key, is important. I was reading a report recently written by the American government about road safety in the Gambia. I mean, if you see the language they use in describing our drivers, you'll want to cry. You say Gambian drivers are reckless, unpredictable, untrained. These are the three words they use. Reckless, unpredictable, untrained. That is the American government's view of Gambian drivers, warning their citizens to know that if you join a Gambian taxi vehicle, that driver is untrained, is unpredictable, and is reckless. Now, many reasons can cause traffic accidents, but until a study is done to ascertain exactly why, is it because of structural problems or procedural problems? Is it because of the road infrastructure that is bad? Is it because there's an increase in driving under the influence, and our police don't have the capacity to test drivers? In Gambia, clubs are open until 5 and 6 a.m. People drink in the clubs and get drunk and drive to go home. Nobody holds them to account, killing people on their way. Our police must be equipped to deal with these issues. They must have the right material, the right tools to make sure our roads are safe. But most important is the manner in which we issue driver's license in this country. It doesn't make sense. How can you give somebody a driver's license in October and you say it will expire 31st December? If you take it in January, it will expire 31st December. If you take it on the 15th of December, it will expire 31st. What does that do? It forces people not to take it. Today, as we speak, many drivers in this country don't have a valid driver's license because it expired on the 31st. And they give you 3 months until March. So between December and March, many drivers drive without a driver's license in this country. It doesn't make sense. We must reform that part. We must go back and look at it and do it pro rata. If you get your license in June, if it is 1 year, it expires in June. If it is 3 years, it expires 3 years later in June. Does it make sense? That's why if you want to start driving in October, you don't get a license. You say, let me wait until December. You will drive without license in this country. But for me, in fact, the whole driver license issuance regime must be revisited. I don't think the police is the right authority to issue driver's license. They should implement. There must be a road authority, a vehicle and driver authority, a special institution. That is best practice. That institution's sole purpose is to issue driver's license, to make sure our roads are safe, to deal with road signage, to make sure that anybody who gets a driver's license should go through certified training schools. Because it's about people's lives. But in the Gambia, anybody can get a driver's license. People can just buy a car today, never drove a car before, just go inside, they can start driving, putting lives at risk. So we need to revisit this and make sure that the amount of accidents happening in this country is too much. And the folly of it is that why do they have to give our driving license issuance to SEMLEX? Government is not getting anything from it. 60-40. Government is getting only 40. Every $1,000 SEMLEX, maybe we get only 400. Don't you think that we have the capacity to create or make our own driver's licenses? So the whole thing is just, it doesn't make sense. So that is for the driver's license issue. When it comes to the final one, has maternal mortality. There's a lot of reports recently that women are dying in hospitals whilst giving birth. That should not happen. In fact, to show us that the government is not serious in dealing with this situation, there's no proper data to tell us exactly what is happening. You see, you cannot solve a problem if you don't know what is happening. The latest survey, which was done in 2013, tells us something different. There is no recent survey. The last one was 2013, that 449, I think 450 or something women per 1,000 die while giving childbirth. That is too high. So there's no recent empirical data. I need regular updates of maternal mortality. You need estimates to know exactly what is happening so you can be able to prioritize maternal health care. Otherwise, you cannot do it. And unfortunately, Gambia is ranking among the countries with high maternal mortality ratio. And I think the government should do a lot of work to reduce this ratio. Even though I had the Gambia's minister speaking the last time at the parliament, giving us not figures that don't make sense. He said in 2014, 208 deaths per 100,000 women. In 2015, it rose to 250. In 2016, it declined to 195. And in 2017, it rose again to 236. The rise continued in 2018 to 283 deaths. And as we speak, the figure, when he was speaking in September last year, it was 169 up to September last year. We don't know today exactly what is happening. And we think that we need proper statistics. But currently there are the weakness of the healthcare sector doesn't give us proper statistics because money is not invested into research in this country. And money must be invested because research is important. It gives us the data we need to solve our problems. Some of the problems that the health sector is facing also is physical infrastructure is gone. There are no supplies of equipment in our hospitals. Shortage of adequately and appropriately trained staff. The human resource factor is key. We think the government should invest in training of medical staff in this country. High attrition rates because they are not motivated. When they see greener pastures, they leave. And also, inadequate referral system. The main referral hospital, I think, is in Banjul. If you live in North Bank and they refer you to Banjul and you miss the ferry, you are almost gone. If you live in Nyomi and you have a life-threatening illness and you need immediate attention, immediately you arrive, Bara, the ferry is going, and there's only one ferry running. Just do your last prayers and wait for God to come. That is the real Haryala. The Haryala is not in the hospital. You see, that's the real Haryala. Talk about Haryala, right? Because you don't know when the next ferry is coming to save you. So we want government to do a comprehensive study so we can understand the causes of maternal mortality in this country as soon as possible, to equip our healthcare facilities with the required maternal and human resources for provision, appropriate, adequate, and comprehensive obstetric care for safe childbirth for all women. And this is a problem. The statistics are here. And I thank Dija for doing a fantastic job and doing a very good research on this issue. And the statistics I'm about to read, I got it from her article. She said that a large majority of Gambian women, that is 86.2%, receive antenatal care from a skilled health professional. That is, before you go to give birth, most women get the care they need, but the problem is where they are giving birth. Only 57.2% of all deliveries are conducted by a skilled health professional. It means that the majority of Gambian women, when they are giving birth, it's not a skilled professional who's helping them to give birth. And that is a problem. What does that mean? It means government must invest more in ensuring we have more skilled professionals, that especially midwives. This is the importance of data. To know exactly what are the weaknesses, what are the gaps, and we solve it. But unfortunately, we are not thinking along that direction. So these are the issues that we have, and I'd like to thank you. Like I said, this press conference is for you. It's for us to be as transparent as possible, for you to tell us exactly the questions you have for us, and we'll answer them in any language, both Mandinka, Wolof, Fula, Jola, Manjago, Sarahule, and any language. We'll be able to answer. Just to summarize in local languages, Bimbadingol, press conference min commande B, Citizens Alliance, la hido di Gambia no la ko kari wo kari, mbinani Gambia dingole kacha. Kacha mi alon ko mbe min kacha la wolon Gambia dingol bi kole ko mi alon ka be bankun kan ani bankun ba sambala nyaadi le. So kari wo kari kana ning kiba jandanal ka kacha. Ntolla miro ko mimbe ke kam bankun kan nga foye isaje sa janjan no fo Gambia dingol sa kala mota mimbe kering Gambia bankun kan. Follow nga min kacha bi wolon IECD nga kala mota ko ifintale no nge safero ke ko registration nyan naka ke January karo tili tandin nani ay bang February karo tili muang ani woro wolon Gambia dingol bita e register pour voters card soto pour kate fo mi alon ko wole kana bare en sita fa wato sita mo bebe parere nga kam may safero ke ko yo bayle mi atina ya baydung safer follow e ma fo Gambia dingole e ko le ko do ya bayle bari fana wato mine ba kala ko mo fana fo Gambia dingole ntol Citizens Alliance wulta nga safero ko AIS ko alnyanta ko kufala leke sañ killing ala fo Gambia dingole ko monati na alia bay flanjango muntumal abe kala ko tenke mi tentula mbe jele findita ya fo mole munana ya bay miati na ya bay mbi ngalonne baw carte fayo e kasula fengol la mialon ko wole ka carte fayo soniandi ka fo les election materials sa oke ibe sanna minul bulu wole problème fienam ba masakunda ka tama nyameng ni masakunda ka bagasol sang nay tata fay ko do tembo si e manyana kadi mo klina pour ya sa wobulu e kam mo jamalle compagnie jamalle ta millialon ko wolle ya no isa keno e dadiyata masakunda ka sang wole bulu otom mondiro dum wole jahaso fe nan IC ning GPP etema foyati nasan e mam mo sotono mialon ko wole be ning material supply la sa e ba kala ko tenke ni la foye mo soto mialon ko wole ba supply la ning ala sonta registration be kala le mais min fola IC fana e wolon ko ya kata bake bawo Gambia ni ngola jiko be kanne anu kate foye manke kuti mialon ko ku chahano lo wala ku ku bake la isake ani silola ay senya molialo mimbe kering wala be kayro sabati la Gambia bankun kan fulanja ngo mialon ko fanan kacha wolon ko ning drug emi muta pototo asa kala muta ko wati den tambita ngamela ñu lokun tambila na polisol e drug muta poroto min dara fo ton saba wo siata bake in fact anen manke Gambia asiata bake le wata ni ko Gambia sain sa telo mialon ko sain ning mo kurungol mialon ko e katara ning ku jawli ni sirafen jawle wafikan e Gambia ke silolati ani mabor dula wultan ko wo manya ke Gambia bawo wonaka da Gambia abe ka banka banko tinyale ngadela banko dol mel tinya don commence kunda e wuli yenna do kulale ka fami law enforcement ye sementu ya je ko karango e sulata minaka do ko ya karango dila anim bagasol sulata ka do ke bagasol ni dila ka je ko isala do ko keno fo Gambia mil kana jang kanyin sira fengol finan isaje ate keno la kotenke sabanjango wolong IGP afanam finta last week e ko motol mi alon ko e kala werol dibindi le fo mol bu kay membe ka moto kono e ko clearance ibe sulala wala e ko manana yewo fo e ko bawo moto kono na dibita mbukaje membe je wo sifalle ka nyinku jawol ka nyim bankon kan e ka fay crime oto nabe wonya e ko momom yalon ko la moto ya dibindi le fo mbuka kono to je e nyante na ka foko ye Gambia dalesi wuli tangjo bare ko sa niata altol ko security latin na alko nkanake sa wuli tang mo si affornateur mo criminal olti so man science be ko sa la jube banko dol kake nyamen ba moto dol be ni asan damen aka anin le kana bari tin fanan different level le kana dol ka fim bakele dol bu ka fim bak ya fa molé du mala be accept la ñu guidelines sol fi nang fo gambe dingol salon mbe o tamande la nyamen nani njango fana ngamin kacha wolong nying accident ngol mil siata gambe bankun kambi mbe ngalo nen ka je nyalale lolong accident nambe ngol be fala ibe baramala nko nyanta kala moneka sabu pour salom fana ba ko solf la nyamen odon commence akunda ko sañ ye panelo setup mi alan ko wala ba investigate la monati na accident ngol kake isaje en sa solf no laysino fanan kadi nyame ya jube ku bawo laysino kadi nyame tolnga jele ko nyanda ko faline sañ ita fala moy ko laysino ta December 1st abe expire December 31st at least sañ ki la nyanda ka wotale ba nga system min soto tolnga jele ko system ko totale aman na fa soto kon ke man sa kunda nyanta aya falin lulu njanga wolong maternal mortality musol mil kafa ni be wulu wala ngaje ko asiata Gambia bakele on commence akunda ko wuli je simfal ke ferol landi ferol mialon ko wala bati nala l'hôpital le tama nga mol soto mialon ko ya do ko nole nga kisi fana munati na musol kafa wulu wala pour ngalong isaje simfam be min tala ngata pour un sewo problème mo fanan solve suma mbokay luma don wax ci kalamay angale ak sosé moy tay press conference bi comme ñun Citizens Alliance dañ waxtanon ak doomi réew yi ne weer bu nekk dañuy ñëw waxtaan ak taskati xibaar yi pour ñu wax leen luy nekk di dox ci réew mi ak ñun Citizens Alliance naka lañ ko gisee ak lan mo suñu taxawaay ci yooyu noonu moo tax tey ñu oo presse bi taskati xibaar yi pour ñu ñëw ñu wax leen ñun luñ foog ne mooy xew loo xam ne am na solo ci réew mi ak ci doomi réew mi ak ñun la mo suñu taxawaay ci njëlbeen bi mooy IEC seen mbir umpu leen ne am na jamono yu passé génnoon nañ wax ne registration dafa am pour nit ñi binda ñoo xam ne dañ bëgg a voter ñu am carte bi jamono dem ba ci kanam ñu bindaat ne loolu dañ ko fooma du amaat waaye waxuñ ñu lu tax du amaat ak kan lañ ko defaat ñun si nag ñu gën a wax ne la déet foog ngeen gën a wax ñu lu tax du amaat ak kan ngeen ko defaat ñu leen a gërëm nga gën a wax ñu lu tax du amaat amoon na benn problème bu am diggante IEC ak kuréel boo xam ne moo responsible ñu ngi ko ooyee GPPA pourtant na ñoo xam ne ñu war a supply nguur lu mu soxla loolu moo koosoon loolu te xam nañ ne ñu si kawam waat su neexee yàlla dinañ génn si waat wax ñu ban compagnie moo ko win ak naka la moo demee si ñaareel buñ discours mooy drogue buñ téye si port bi tayle ni la ñu ngi naan loo xam ne mun naa yaaxa réew mi kon war nañ see jóg nguur war na see jóg ñu ngi gërëm ñoo xam ne nag ñooy law enforcement officer ñoo xam ne ñoom ñoo di liggéey si côté boobu la ñu téye ñoo xam ne ñoom ñoo isi drogue bi ñu leen a gërëm si seen liggéey bu rafet bi di wax ne tamit ne nañ dooleel gars yi pour ñu mën a def seen liggéey bu baax parce que Gambia tey lu ko mën a yaaxa mooy drogue taay di ko defee denceekaay ak yoon pour lu bon lii nii mun naa yaaxa réew kon ñu ngi ñaax nguur gi pour ñu saytu mbir bi bu baax a baax sax ñu def loo xam ne dañ ko si war a def pour gis ne loolu du am si réew mi beneen bi mooy IGP police ñu génn a joxe directive ne képp ko am ne sa moto dafa am parenthèse bu lëndëm da nga war a dem jël clearance nga fay 10,000 wala 15,000 lu tax ñu ne loolu war a am parce que ñu ne sécurité ñun ñu ne su dee sécurité la kon kenn warta fay da nga koo baan parce que make good sense nga ne sécurité la waaye di nga fay 10,000 ñu ngi ñaax nguur gi pour ñu seetaan mbir bi ak IGP bi office am pour ñu gis ñu isi loo xam ne dina tax ba kaaraange am si réew mi waaye tamit ñoo xam ne ñoo amee borom moto yi dinañ mën a amee seen moto si dal si waxtaan boo xam ne nag mooy mbiri driving license yi ak accident yu bari yu am si réew mi umpule ne tey saa yoo génne di nga gis accident suñ nit ñaa ngee dee ñu ngi gaañu si accident yi ñu ngi naan bari na kon waxtu jot na pour nguur gi jóg def si taxawaay ñu gestu lan moo war a tax accident yi bari si réew mi ak naka lañ koo saafaralee ñu seet tamit si mbiri licence bu baax a baax parce que nu ñu joxee licence tamit moo jaarut yoon do mën a jox nit ki license 1st of December nga ne ko dafa expire 31st dañ ko war a seetaat ñu reform ko ñun loolu la mooy xam ne Citizens Alliance mooy seen taxawaay si loolu. lu si mujjee nag mooy mbiri jigéen yoo xam ne ñuy dee suñoo wasin boobu tam gis nañ ne bari na si réew mi torop ñu ngi ñaax nguur gi ñu seetaat mbir bi tamit ñu def si ay gestu ay jéego yoo xam ne dina tax ba képp ko xam ne jigéen nga dem pour wasin di nga mën a wasin si dal ak si sutura ak te doo si am benn jafe-jafe mbiri mooy loolu. Finally, I've skipped one thing which is very important as well, is the appointment of the Vice IAC Chairman. This is a big disappointment and it is not acceptable. The country has laws, and laws must be followed, especially by the executive. The purpose why we are paying the Attorney General and Minister of Justice is for him to advise government on legal issues. So where was he when the government was making this very bad, unlawful decision? We cannot accept it. We cannot accept such mistakes. The person tipped for the job is not qualified by law. I think the executive should know that before they make the appointment. These are the things that makes people lose credibility with the IEC. And once people start to lose credibility, and IAC's credibility start to get undermined, we start losing confidence on the ability of the IEC to oversee elections in this country. So they should be very, very, very careful and avoid such mistakes. And we urge the government to make sure that whatever they do, they follow due process and they follow the laws of the land. We cannot accept impunity in this country anymore, where I just wake up in the morning and make decisions that are unlawful. Gone are the days. We are ready, in fact, to challenge that decision in court, had it not been that it was rescinded. So we urge them that we are vigilant, we are watching. We are, like I said, we are principal stakeholders in the entire process. We must make sure that things are done right. On that note, I thank you very much, and we are looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismaila Cisse, for that insightful, thorough, and detailed submission. Now we want to open the floor to you, the media, our partners. It's your day. It's your show. Let's engage. Let's interact. Ask your questions in any language you feel comfortable, and we'll be happy to answer it. So I want to take the first question here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and the press conference. You've raised a lot of very important points. My name is Yusuf Taylor for Gainako Online News. I wanted to ask you something which you haven't touched on in your points, which is regarding the Constitution and the dialogue that have taken place. 2 rounds of consultations have now been concluded. Where are we? What's Citizens Alliance take away from this whole engagement? Are we close to getting a constitution?
Thank you very much, Yusuf. That's a very important question and a very important, pertinent national issue as well. I would be pleased to inform you that the Citizens Alliance was invited to this dialogue, or mediation, as they call it. I know you are aware that an international organization, IDEA, is engaged to lead the process, together with an eminent person in the name of Goodluck Jonathan. We took part in both rounds of discussions. The idea was to have a dialogue and find a common ground and negotiate to ensure that we take the constitution back to Parliament and get it passed. So before that happens, consensus is needed among the political parties, especially those with seats in Parliament. I can inform you that the negotiations went well. The goodwill is there, especially from the opposition political parties. I'm very optimistic about the outcome, because I've seen during the dialogue how even parties that were really found themselves in 2 different poles during the debate in Assembly, I've seen that they are ready to compromise and have common ground. I cannot go into the details of exactly what are the agreements. I'm not sure if I have the authority to do so, What I can tell you is that I'm optimistic. There is some kind of consensus. At least we are very close to a consensus. And we hope that very soon, those with the right authority to give the information will come out and tell the Gambian people exactly what has happened and what is the way forward.
The most, the one that is causing a lot of headache and a lot of people are having so much tunnel vision on is the term limit. Is Citizens Alliance willing to allow the retroactivity to pass by so that we can have a new constitution? Bearing in mind, Gambian people will decide.
Before I answer that question, I want us to look at the different scenarios at play. That is how we operate. One scenario is that there's a stalemate, and parties, put themselves into two poles, very rigid poles. One party saying it must be removed, retroactivity. Other party says it must be there. Flexibility will be lost. What will happen is that there will be no constitution, perhaps, because you need consensus. Constitution building is a very complex process. You need consensus. So when there's no consensus, what will happen is that there will be no constitution until elections. And then perhaps the next government that will come will work on a new constitution. It means that the current sitting president, this term will be free for him, and even next term.
So as a Citizens Alliance position, are you willing to compromise that?
For us, we made it very clear that if that is what is going to bring consensus and a new constitution before, with a condition, it must be passed before elections, and the next election will be based on the new constitution, we are willing to negotiate and discuss. But other than that, it's a no-go area. But if that will bring us a new constitution before the elections, in fact, that is our sticking point. Our condition is that if it is going to ensure we have a new constitution before the next elections, so that term limit counts before the next elections, diaspora votes in the next elections, and also 50 plus 1% is in the next elections, we are willing to compromise and have consensus depending on how things go. But other than that, we will not be part of that.
Thank you, Yusuf. Next question, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sise, Citizens Alliance, sorry. Yeah, for the opportunity. I am Alajimane. I work with the Standard newspaper. So, in your deliberations, you called on the authorities, specifically the IGP, to initiate a probe and to bring perpetrators of, or the people behind the cocaine that was imported and bust at the ports by DLEAG agents. The question is, this recent bust follows in the recent past. I mean, it came on the heels of another one involving a company called Raw Food and stuff. Many others also, of course, are involved or were involved in that, and we are yet to see any outcome. We don't even know the progress of any or at all if any investigations has been launched. What gave you the conviction that this time around it will be any different?
Thank you. The Laura Food case, yeah, go on.
If I could just
sure.
once and for all. The second question has to do with maternal mortality in the Gambia. The health minister, Dr. Samate, was at a convergence sometime a week ago. He told medical practitioners that his office was in the process of formulating or initiating a maternal mortality committee, whatever he calls it, that would investigate the deaths or the causes of deaths in our hospitals. What's your take on that as a party? Thank you.
Thank you, Alaji. Thank you. The Laura Food case is quite different from the current industrial salt case. I'll give you the two scenarios why I said it's different. In terms of packaging, it's different. With the Laura Food case, the consignment was in front of the container. Once you open the container, it is the drugs that you see. In the industrial salt case, it's at the very back of the container. The Laura Food case, the Laura Foods themselves called the DLEAG to say that we saw something here which is not part of our consignment. It is fishy, come and have a look. So they called the police. It was not like the police did an intelligence and followed it and traced it and busted. No, The Laura Foods opened the container. They saw something that was not supposed to, a foreign object in the container. It was sugar. And they got suspicious and called the police to come and have a look. And it was tested and it was cocaine. It means that based on my investigations, the Laura Foods drug was not supposed to come to the Gambia. The way these international criminals work is very complex. Perhaps it was supposed to be transferred somewhere, to be opened and removed and closed again, because they take many transit points. And when a container is coming to Gambia and transits in Belgium, the Belgian authorities would not pay so much attention. That's job for the Gambia to do. They do random searches, but they don't pay too much attention on the transit containers than containers heading for Belgium. That is their priority. So based on my understanding, I get this wrong. It wouldn't make sense if the Laura Foods will bring a consignment of drugs, not busted by the police, and still call the police to come and take care of it. And also, if you look at where it is placed in front of once you open it, you see it. So sometimes, what international criminals, they tamper with containers. They have agents in different transit ports, so that they know a particular container is having it. The agent will just open it, remove it, and seal it again. The container moves. Perhaps this one, it was a failed operation, and it ended in a... I said perhaps, I'm not saying. But what I also learned is that the DELEJ did a thorough investigation of the Laura Foods case. And based on their investigations, they came to the conclusion that the Laura Foods... In fact, when the Laura Foods company called them, they were all arrested and taken into custody. That is standard operation procedure, even though they called them. They did their thorough investigations, and the outcome was that they could not find them culpable in that particular case. However, it doesn't mean that they are free. They let them go because there is no evidence. Investigations continue. If in the future, intelligence surfaces that they were involved, they'll go and get them again. But when it comes to the industrial salt case, this was an operation, an intelligence operation, by the Interpol, working together with our DLEAG guys to trace it and track it and bust it. So these are two different cases. And they're investigating that one as well. Investigations are on. We hope it will be independent and objective, and the whole country will be informed of the outcome of those investigations. Maternal mortality, we welcome the news that there is going to be a panel set up, but it is urgent. It should not take long. Every day, women are dying. Every day, women are dying. In fact, the numbers we have and what is happening is not even the same. So it must be done as soon as possible. It's not rhetoric. It's about lives. So it must be done as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. DJ?
Okay, good afternoon, Doctor. The question that I'm going to ask you did not deal with that. So my question is, I understand that you have been meeting with some political parties, opposition political parties, to be specific, GDC and APRC. What are some of the issues that you discuss with them, or are you working towards forming a coalition, or what are some of the things that we are discussing?
Thank you, Dija Jao. When I was elected as the leader of the party, I took over the party at a very difficult time for this country. The country has been divided politically, most importantly. And I think political leaders have a role to play to unite the country. So I discussed with the executive that what I want to do as my first task is to write to all political party leaders and go and pay a courtesy call to them, to discuss with them ways in which we can work together to ensure a free, fair election by pushing for the reforms that are necessary, but also to show the electorate, our supporters, that if our leaders can sit on the table and drink coffee and be amicable to each other, why can't our supporters also do the same thing and engage each other based on ideas, that there is no animosity between the political party leaders? This is good for the country because election year normally, stability can be shaken. And for us to have a peaceful elections, and currently, if you listen to the political discourse online, it's very toxic. Political parties, supporters are so rigid and so aggressive towards each other that it doesn't augur well for the country. So I think we, as the political leaders, should show to our and our supporters that It's one Gambia, one destination, one vision, but how to reach to that destination is where we differ. That is politics. Some parties prefer the socialism road. Some parties prefer the conservative road. Some the communist road. But the ultimate aim is to build a Gambia that is where every Gambian will live a dignified life. Our young people have access to good jobs. Our people have access to quality healthcare, clean water, electricity. That is the Gambia we want. And I think how we are going to achieve it is where the difference is. And I think we should make our electorate understand this. So the purpose was to pay courtesy call. I see them as partners, as compatriots, even though we are from different political parties. But also to send a strong signal to the electorate, our supporters, that they should not kill each other, insult each other because of us, because all is well between us.
So a follow-up to that, do you have any intention of coaliting with one of those parties?
We did not only meet GDC and APRC, we wrote to, in fact, all the political parties, including, in fact, the president himself, as leader of the NPP. We want to meet him as well, to talk about the country and how we can all work together to make the country move. So there is no coalition on the table yet for us. Currently, what the CA is focusing on is to sell our agenda to the Gambian people, build our political base, and let the Gambian people trust us and give us the mandate to govern this country in 2021. That is our goal.
So, yes, Doctor, my question has to do with IEC. From your observation, do you think they are prepared for this coming election? And the second question will be in terms of this voter registration. Citizen Alliance, what are you expecting? Just to upgrade the old one, or you want a fresh voter registration?
The last question is not what we want, it's what the law says. There should be fresh voter registration. Even if you want upgrade, that doesn't happen. The law says every 10 years, fresh voter registration, and that's what should happen. So what we want is not what matters here. In terms of my confidence in the IEC to be able to do this, I think they've done it before. I have known people in that institution that are well-meaning people who love the country and they're passionate about their job. I have no reason to question or doubt their credibility or their capacity or their capability to do the good job. However, some of the things that surface now makes many people wonder whether they are ready for the 2021 election. Because like I said, it's a very different election in 2021. It is the first post-dictatorship. The political space is more open now. It's a very different ballgame. The stakes are higher also. So what I'm urging them is that they be very careful and be very mindful of how they do things, because already people have started questioning their credentials, and that is not good for them. But I have no reason, to doubt their capacity to do it, because they've done it before successfully.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Okay, I am Daisy from iAfrica TV, and my question is with regards to the president's nationwide tour, because we have seen him making several promises to rural Gambians and of course urban Gambians, where he said he's going to make Banjul as the Singapore Africa or Dubai. So, and the former president has made same promise to Gambian people, despite spending 22 years in power, which he could not fulfill. So what's your take on that? And also, the second question is, His Excellency has made a statement during the tour by calling his saying there are some political leaders in the Gambia here who are ready to sell the country to criminals or businessmen in the country. So what's your take on that as well?
Well,
thank you.
When it comes to the promises, I mean, anybody can make promises. We've had the president say, when you are campaigning, you can say anything. So we are not surprised that during the nationwide tour, he's saying everything. It doesn't come as a surprise to us. When it comes to the promise about turning Gambia into Singapore, sometimes I feel sad that a country that we had independence with together in 1965, a country the World Bank visited in 1965, visited Nigeria, visited Gambia, and told Singapore, you have no chance to develop. In fact, they call them a hopeless case. That Nigeria had more chances and some West African countries than Singapore. And now, 2021, from Jawara's era to Barrow, We want to turn Gambia into Singapore. Maybe my great-grandchildren will witness, but I know it's not any. So it's all politics. You see, that is what we CA want to do. We want to move away from politics of deception and tell the reality to the people. What are the realities? What are the problems? How do we solve it? Making promises, I'm going to build this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build 50 hospitals. That is not the issue. Tell the people what the problems are and what are your solutions concretely to solve those problems. But people, I mean, it's political suicide also. Gambians are very, very much awakened now. By making such big promises, you are hanging yourself. It's a rope you're hanging yourself, because if you make those promises, election day you don't fulfill your, people are going to vote you out. So it is also counterproductive. It is political suicide. When it comes to the issue of branding his opposition as criminals, I think what a good president does is, if you suspect criminal activity, not only opposition but any Gambian, you tell the police to investigate. Anybody found guilty, you charge, you prosecute and convict. So for me, does it make sense that you are telling that they are engaging in criminal activity, you as president are saying it, are not taking action? It's not a sign of good leadership.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Go ahead, ma'am.
What I want to ask is, what would the CA government have done if they were in power to clean up the image of the country, as it's in a big mess with the cocaine issue, because all international media have been talking about it?
Well, like I said, cocaine, having Gambia as known, become famous as a transit and storage point, is not good for the country. It wins investor confidence, it creates instability, and many other issues. What we would do is to make sure that we invest heavily in law enforcement and empower our law enforcement officers and equip them with the latest training and technology. So it's about institutions. You need strong institutions, because these international criminal gangs, they target countries with weak institutions. So when they know that Gambia is a no-go area, one, it is detected, you cannot enter. Two, we do a thorough work to ensure that anybody involved is prosecuted and convicted, long sentences. So you need to set strong examples. That is what we will do. We'll make sure that we strengthen law enforcement. We'll make sure that we train them and give them the latest equipment, latest technology, and also work together with transnational agencies who are dealing with this. Create that rapport there, information sharing. So once they know that, then Gambia wouldn't become a no-go area. But once Gambia is perceived, perception is important. To be a country with weak security institutions, it is easy to take drugs, it is easy to store, easy to move again, then it becomes a target. So we need to do a lot of work, make sure we build strong law enforcement institutions to ensure that we deal with these issues.
So does this year know how many voters are supposed to be registered by IEC as of 2021?
No, we cannot know that. Currently, based on the latest census, the population is 2.4 to 2.5 million people. 60% are below 25, something like that. But we cannot know exactly how many Gambians will be registered in the next phase of registration. But because we don't also know whether diaspora will be registered. But that has also got to do with access to documents you need. The way things are going, if nothing is done, many Gambians will be disenfranchised by the system, and that should not happen. So I cannot tell you exactly how many Gambians will be registered to vote in the next elections.
Thank you very, very much. Oh, you have, okay, I'll take that final question.
The first one is about the drugs issue. So a lot of people are of the belief that, these drugs were not supposed to be used here. But there is also a rising use of, crack in this country.
And ecstasy.
Yeah, even these type of drugs. So they are increasingly being used here. We know people come to this country and they want to enjoy, and we know where those products are being sold. Are we having a rising problem in this country that also needs to be looked at. And then with regards to investing in security, is it a question of because of when you look at our finance and our budget, even in this year, if you put together the external security and the internal security, you will see that they are appropriated a huge amount. So we are actually investing significant resources in financing the security institution. And I hear what you are saying, which to me translates as more financing. Or is it a case where we need to make sure that our security institutions are more in a better state to address? So whereas we look at our priority, do we spend more in external security? Do we spend more in internal security to address some of these issues which we are talking about? So those are two of my questions.
Thank you. I think it's the first question is, I am glad that you raised it, Yusuf. The drug abuse is not becoming. It's a serious problem in the Gambia, especially among young people. And if not tackled now, it's going to cause a lot of havoc in this country. A lot of young people now are into drugs and alcohol abuse in this country, especially ecstasy. You can get it for $200-$300 per pill, and it's a very bad drug. Recently, the DLEAG also confiscated 250 kilos of hashish in Sukuta, or Brufut. So it's a lot of drugs in this country. So we need to have a crackdown in drug abuse, not only in investing in Gambia as a transit point, but also in terms of drug abuse in our country. We need to have police officers, especially intelligence officers, in nightclubs, in Senegambia, in the ghettos, making sure there's a crackdown. What pains me more is there's more crackdown on a joint. They run around arresting these boys for joint, which is less harmful than this ecstasy. You see, that is why we said access to even justice is not happening in it. It depends on which area you are and how poor you are. They go after the poor man, the poor youths in the ghettos because they are smoking a joint, and they put them in remand for eternity. As we speak, there is a young man in Mile 2 for 3 years. He doesn't know why he's there because of a joint. It's either his file is lost or he's got no lawyer to bail him. He's there. He's got no support. Whilst our people like, the guys, they'll be in these very luxurious nightclubs, taking ecstasy and other drugs, and nothing, they'll get away with it for free. What kind of country is that? The other issue about spending, it's not what you spend, it's how you spend it. If you spend $1 billion in security, but they just go and buy expensive jeeps and travel and workshops, that's not how you spend money on security. Every country uses data every year to see. If you see that crime rates have increased in the Gambia, we need to do more investment in crime, in curbing crime. What do? Do we invest in more security cameras? Do we invest more police stations? What is the police-citizen ratio? Is it enough? Do you have more police presence in communities? How many police officers have radios to communicate? Not even a credit. If you are running away from a police officer, he cannot even call to say, no credit. How can you do your job? The uniforms are torn. They don't even have a bicycle. Even a bicycle, if you give police, if you kind of organize it's police administration, you organize your police, say kind of thing, 10 police arrests, you give them bikes, helmets, everything, radio, they'll be running around their bikes, running. We want police presence, it deters crime. But you go to the police station now, here kind of thing. You report, motor tijande. Taxi commanding nga arrest. Wala mo nga kontom follow nga na. So there is no we don't take security seriously in this country. If we realize that, look, in terms of external security, Gambia has been safe. We don't need to invest more on external, but we're having internal crime problems. You divest from external security and invest in internal security. But how you invest, what is important? It's not by expensive cars, the travels and the hotels and the workshops. No, you invest in the police officers. The police officer lady standing on the traffic light to make sure our kids cross safely. Not even a boot, how do they call it? these boots, these
Rain
plastic.
boots.
They don't even have it. It has to take a police officer to be taking a picture, barefooted, for us to come to say, oh, let's promote her. Some will bring Ram for Tobaski. What kind of country is that? We need to invest in security. Build more police stations, more police presence, equip our police, motivate them, pay them so they can do their job. So it's not about how much you invest, it's how you invest it.
Thank you very much. So we'll take our last question before we wrap up.
This one has to do with, during his Meet the People tour, President Barrow, he attacked the media, and it was viewed as skating in a lot of quarters. Even the GPU called it regular, that it's now becoming a habit. Some political observers have also, concluded that, well, it's an attempt to muzzle the media. What will you do? What will CA do in changing the media landscape? Not that it's harsh, because we've seen a lot of freedom now, but then attempts as such, well, from the president, muzzling the media or skating, saying derogatory remarks have now become a habit. So what will CA do when once in power? The second question has to do, it's a very vexed issue, a lot of very sensitive as well, but it's happening every day. That is tribal politics. We've seen politicians, it's everywhere. Well, it has dominated our daily discourses now. What are your views on this?
The first issue has to do with the president's attack on the media, or perceived attack on the media. What would the CA government do? We will enhance the fourth estate, that is the media. We will do the necessary media reforms and make sure the media is empowered. The media has a role to play. The role they play is to hold government accountable and to make sure the public is as informed as possible about what government is doing so they can make the right choices. And that's a very critical role that the media is playing. So our role, like we are doing now, we are not going around insulting the media, we're engaging the media. Even if you report things that are not favorable to us, that's it. Sometimes you report favorable, so it's not favorable, but you are doing your job. So we'll invest in the media as well. Because we believe that the journalists in this country also need more training and more motivation as well. We need professional journalists as well. So therefore, we'll try to find ways to work with the GPU, Gambia Press Union, to create opportunities for young people like you who want to have a career in journalism to make it in journalism. Is it Wolf Blitzer, CNN? These top CNN, they are not better than you. They are not smarter than you. You can become another, if with the right opportunity, with the right chance, the right support, you can become an international journalist. But they are born in countries where they are supported and the environment is conducive for them to excel and achieve what they want to be. But here you want to be, if Dija wants to be another Christian Amanpour, she cannot because the environment is not right. She'll be in journalism until she's 40, 50, nothing, and she quits. A big talent is wasted. We'll invest as well. Work with GPU, provide training opportunities for media personnel, empower you, and make sure we create that free and fair, we create the regulatory framework, the legal framework, so journalists can operate and are empowered and are free from interference by the state. The second issue, tribal politics. It's a very sensitive issue. One thing I can tell you is that I have not seen any political party in the Gambia that is campaigning under the platform of any ethnic group. Yes, there are ethnic differences here and there, which started to surface in the latter years, from 2015, 16, 17 up to now. That is why one of the things that we are doing to meet other political parties is to discuss these issues and find common ground and create that platform to send the right signal that Gambia is one country and no tribe is more powerful than the other tribe in this country. All tribes are equal in this country. The Gambia belongs to every tribe, whether you are one in number or whether you are 1,000 in number. It belongs to all of us. If you remove the one tribe, it doesn't become Gambia anymore. It's like you remove the A from, it becomes Gambi. For it to be Gambia, all tribes must have a say in this country. The minority groups must be protected by law, and they feel that they also live in this country, have access to the resources of this country and are also empowered. It's Gambia. Today, if you go to the hospital to get treatment, you don't look at who is treating you. If you go to the market to shop, you don't look at who's going to sell to you. What is important is what you are buying. So we should forget about tribalism. It doesn't take us anywhere. It destroys our countries. And I think we political leaders, the journalists, the media, has a role to play in making sure that this thing sinks in our people. That Gambia is for all, and everybody, every religion, every tribe has a say in this country. And that's how it should be. I thank you all, except if Dominica has something to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, once again. I keep emphasizing we are partners in development. We will continue this engagement as we get closer to 2021 and the years ahead. We are not a party of now. We are a party that is here to stay. Citizens Alliance is conscious of the undesirable current state of our country. We know that the country needs salvaging. CA did not only come in the political space to compete, to criticize destructively, but rather to partner, to collaborate, to unify Gambians, because the country is divided right now. We are here to build hope, and most importantly, to restore dignity. CA is the futuristic party. CA is the party. I thank you very much for the patience, for the time, and we hope to engage some more. Again, this is going to be a monthly engagement, and I will communicate with you all the next date. That will be like, we're hopefully doing it every second Friday of the month, but I will communicate officially, again, like I always do, with all your media houses, the date once we fix it for the next press conference. I thank you very much. I wish you a blessed Thursday. Thank you very much.
When we touch down, better broke down.
With Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
Agada di.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenji.
Okay. Important.
Nsila ID soto.
Ah, sa soto. Sorry. Agada di.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Ah,
bare mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Ah, jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong labe.
56 branches mola sota Gambia ja.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kono kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi man domorol dir fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha e wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
baraka ba. Ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.